What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken. Today, guys, we are going to talk about the 10 worst releases in 2023. I guess I should go ahead and say it. I'm going to put worst on the thumbnail because, look, let's face it, guys, negativity sells in this world. You guys are going to click on it if it says worst. But what I should really have titled this video is my least favorite releases that came out in 2023. Look, I watched a lot of 4K and Blu-ray titles in the year of 2023. I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on what I did like and what I didn't. And to be completely honest, like, there was a lot of great releases, good to really good to great releases. I had a really hard time picking out these 10, but there were 10 that did disappoint me quite a bit. So I do want to talk about my least favorite here today. But before we get into it, guys, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We talk about physical media on this channel, Blu-rays, 4Ks, owning the movies that you love, all this stuff there behind me, right there, every single day. Also, drop me a like and then comment down below, guys, what were some of your least favorite releases of 2023? Whether that was packaging or the transfer sucked, the audio is shitty, the lack of special features. Like, there's a number of criteria that I'm basing this on here today. You know, let me know what some of your least favorite ones, the ones that did not deliver. Let's just say that the ones that you were so excited for and it just didn't deliver. Let me know that in the comment section below. Let's go ahead and get into it, guys. Without further ado, I've got 10 titles. They're mostly 4Ks, but I do have one Blu-ray. We'll knock the Blu-ray out first, and that is this release. And look, I love this label. I think it's a great kind of budget Blu-ray label. They usually have some good features, audio commentaries, but this title, I was just expecting, I guess, so much more than what it actually gave me. But Witch Trap from MVD Rewind. I watched this, and this might be the worst movie that I've seen all year, at least the worst horror movie I've seen. And I watch a lot of Vinegar Syndrome stuff, and those movies are at least entertaining, the ones that I watched this year. This movie is slow, it's boring. Pretty much the only reason to watch this film is Linnea Quigley takes her top off. The story doesn't make sense, the kills are lame, like everything about this movie is lame, it's not fun, and I did not enjoy watching 1 second, well, maybe 5 seconds, but beyond the 5 seconds, I didn't enjoy watching any other part of this movie. So yeah, Witch Trap from MVD Rewind. This one just stuck out to me. I'm sure there were some other Blu-ray titles I watched, 4K titles I watched that I did not enjoy, but I was like, Witch Trap just sucked, and I have to put that in my top 10. But yeah, Witch Trap, that's my first one I'm gonna talk about. This is in no particular order. It's not, 10 through 1 or anything like that. These all, disappointed me, maybe not equally, but I just, I can't rank them. I don't know. I'll rank my best up, but not my worst up. This one was controversial when I reviewed it, and I'm almost afraid to bring it up again, but Weird Science on 4K from Arrow Video really disappointed me because Arrow Video usually does some of the best work around. Like, they just do some of the best 4K transfers, and I'm not saying, there were some people that said they really like this transfer. I'm not trying to take that away from anybody. This is just my preference at the end of the day, right? This is just my subjective opinion, but I actually prefer the Blu-ray that they did back in 2019. I just think has a little bit more clarity to it. I can make out the visuals. And this is a movie that I want to see the visuals. I want to see Kelly LeBrock, in full form. I want to be able to make everything out. This was extremely grainy. I don't know. And I didn't want them to like overly clean it up or anything. I like grain in most stuff, but this was just like so grainy. It was just like I couldn't make stuff out like I wanted to. I wanted more of a clear picture. Like I said, I don't dislike grain. I talk about loving grain, the nice filmic look all the time when I'm reviewing stuff, but this just kind of took away from the visuals for me, and it just wasn't as clear as I wanted it to be. I didn't think the HDR really did too much for the colors, or maybe it did, and I just couldn't notice it because there was so much grain. It was like this heavy like filter of grain. I know they probably didn't add grain. That's probably the way it was shot back in 1984 whenever they shot this movie, but it was there and it was noticeable, and it was just taking away from the image for me. So I did not like this Weird Science 4K from Arrow Video. This is pretty much their only miss for me in 2023. But yeah, Weird Science on 4K definitely disappointed me. Oh my God, I'm gonna save this one for last. We're gonna talk about this one last. Let's talk about Evil Dead Rise. The movie was okay. I like the movie, but what disappoints me about this release is that I got it and it has no new special features. It didn't have an audio commentary. And then what happens 3 months later? They release a steelbook with an audio commentary and special features. And I think the UK got the special features and stuff like maybe 2 or 3 weeks or a month after this came out. So it's like, why did you do that, Warner Bros? Why did you release this without all that stuff and then a couple months later release a steelbook with special features? That just doesn't make any sense, especially when this comes out at $27.99. And yeah, that was just disappointing. The movie was good. I didn't love the movie, so that was kind of disappointing, but easily my least favorite in the franchise. But the picture quality was good. It was just more or less the special features that just kind of disappointed me. And this banner just doesn't go with this right here. So I'll say that. So Evil Dead Rise was definitely disappointing. Oh, let's talk about the core on 4K, ladies and gentlemen. I did not want to get this because I saw this movie once in the theaters. It was lame. I didn't like it, and it represents everything that I hate about disaster movies post the 2000s or the post the 90s when they stopped making good disaster movies and Roland Emmerich was just kind of unhinged and doing Day After Tomorrow and 2012 and all the other crappy disaster films like The Core that we got in the 2000s. I'm just not a fan of, so I already didn't like this movie. So going into it, I was like, I don't want to get this 4K. Then somebody donated to the channel. Gus, if you're out there watching, this is your fault. This is why I'm talking about this title here today. He said, go get that title. I want to hear your thoughts on it. So I bought it using the money that he donated, and I reviewed this on the channel, and I was not very positive about it at all. First off, they released a Blu-ray of this from Shout Select back in, I believe, 2022 that had new special features. None of those features are in this 4K. This has no new special features or no past features from Shout Factor or anything on this. This is like bare bones as far as a release. But the actual 4K transfer, like it was fine, but it actually made the movie look worse because you could just like make everything out, and the effects in this movie were so terrible. It just didn't do this movie any favors, and it didn't wow me like a lot of the other transfers this year did. So the transfer it wasn't shitty, but it also wasn't good, and it was like, it just makes this movie worse. So I'm sure that Shout Factory, the Blu-ray, is probably the preferred viewing method. You really have no reason to ever buy the core on 4K. So yeah, this one sucks. It's definitely one of my least favorite releases, least favorite movies I watched this year, and the transfer is just not great for this movie. So the core on 4K sucks for sure. You guys know I did a whole review about it, talking about how it sucks, and some people had the nerve to be like, I still get comments on the core review. They're like, this is actually a great disaster movie, Ken, from 2003. I love the core. Come on, guys. Come on. Is it as good as Twister, Dante's Peak, Armageddon, Deep Impact, which also got 4K this year? No, it's not. It sucks, okay? And this next one, look, I absolutely love this movie. This is probably a top 5, top 10 horror movie for me. But Rosemary's Baby, look, it doesn't look terrible. The picture doesn't look terrible, but when you compare it to that 2010 or 2011 Criterion Blu-ray that came out, there's really not a ton of difference. Like I thought the HDR did a little bit for the coloring. You know, some of the colors were definitely deeper and more vibrant, but the movie's not very colorful anyway. It's a very dry, dreary film. So the HDR didn't really do this any favors, but overall, like, clarity of the picture, I just wasn't blown away by this one, and I wanted to be because it's one of my favorite horror movies, and we'll have that again here in a second when I get to it. But Rosemary's Baby, look, it looked good. It didn't look terrible. It was definitely an improvement, but it kind of disappointed me. So this is probably one of my least favorite releases of the year for sure, but just because of the disappointment. But great movie. I love the movie. And there was sound issues as well with this, which they did do a disc replacement program, which I need to jump in on and get that disc because I didn't do it yet. I put it out to everybody. I was like, hey, the disc replacement program's going on, but I didn't do it myself. I do that all the time. But Rosemary's Baby, look, it was just disappointing. And I love the movie, but the transfer just wasn't great to me. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. This movie itself was kind of a disappointment to me. Just some decisions that they made. I love all the Mission Impossible movies. This is probably my least favorite, if I'm being completely honest, or maybe second least favorite, but it wasn't even that. It was just, I was expecting like a Top Gun level 4K transfer with this one, and it just didn't get there for me. This was a very disappointing 4K for a new movie, because usually with new movies, it's kind of a given they're going to look great on 4K. This to me just didn't look very good. Like it certainly didn't look as good as Top Gun Maverick. It didn't sound as good as Top Gun Maverick, and it's the same studio, Paramount, putting it out. And I figure with Tom Cruise and Paramount, like this was going to be great. This is going to be one of the best discs of the year. And it just wasn't for me. So the movie itself was kind of mediocre, and the transfer and the sound on this was kind of mediocre. Some decent special features. There's about 30 minutes of special features, but I think most of them you can actually get on YouTube. So yeah, wasn't very high on this release from Paramount. Definitely one of my least favorite releases of the year. This is another one that's going to give me some heat because this review, I'm pretty sure I had people like unsubscribe to the channel over my thoughts on this movie and this release. But you know what, guys? I don't care. These are my thoughts. They don't have to be yours. This is my subjective opinion again. But Natural Born Killers was a hell of a disappointment for me this year. I didn't like the movie at all. And to be honest, like, I don't really see why this even needs a 4K. Half of the movie is like this disorienting, like 70s sitcom style aesthetic and just a reality TV show look. It's almost like, you know, saying that the Blair Witch Project needs a 4K. It doesn't. It's fine on DVD. It's fine on Blu-ray. Hell, it's probably fine on VHS. And that's Natural Born Killers. Like the actual look of this movie and the overall like cinematic value, it doesn't look great. And I know it's intentional. It's supposed to be kind of disorienting and reality TV style and all this stuff, but it doesn't look great and it doesn't really lend itself to a good transfer. There are spots in this movie where it's an actual movie and all those spots looked really good. But overall, I just didn't really feel like this needed a 4K upgrade, and I just didn't enjoy the movie. So definitely one of my least favorite, most disappointing releases of 2023. This one hurts my soul. This is kind of like Rosemary's Baby. I love this movie. It's my favorite horror film of all time. And this got several releases, and I bought almost all of them. But The Exorcist on 4K, it's tough to say it's one of my least favorite, but it's definitely probably my most disappointing release of the year because I wanted so much better from this transfer. And maybe it's not possible, but I keep thinking about this and I cannot shake this feeling that if Vinegar Syndrome or Arrow Video would have got The Exorcist and they would have done the restoration for this movie on 4K, it would have looked miles ahead of this transfer that Warner Brothers did. And I'm not saying that Warner Brothers doesn't do a great job on their transfers. They absolutely do. They do some great work. They just did a great restoration on The Color Purple. But The Exorcist just, it was good in spots. But there was other spots where the coloring just felt off. It looked almost like VHS quality. And again, that could go back to just the way it was shot and made. I know it was made kind of like a documentary. But I just can't shake that feeling that somebody else, like an Arrow, like a Vinegar Syndrome, like a Hell, like a Scream Factory, because they're doing great work too, could have done so much better with this 4K. And for that, it's disappointing, and it's going in one of my least favorite releases of the year. But I got that Bible edition. That's one of my favorite releases of the year, but just for the packaging, not for the contents of what's inside. This one really disappointed me as a movie and also kind of as a transfer, but The Changeling from Second Sight. I didn't think the transfer was that great. It was very grainy, very blurry. I didn't really feel like there was any kind of clarity at all to this transfer. I popped in my Severum Blu-ray release that I had, and there wasn't a ton of difference. Maybe a little bit with that HDR, but overall, like clarity, it just didn't feel much different from the Blu-ray that came before. So I didn't really think this was a great transfer, and Second Sight always does great work. So I don't really know what was going on with this one, but the movie itself was very hyped up for me. And it's one that I will go back and revisit at some point, but it's almost, I wouldn't even call this movie a horror movie. This is more of like a political thriller with some supernatural elements in it. And I didn't find it scary at all. I didn't find it unsettling. I didn't find it creepy. It's a haunted house movie, some people say, but I just couldn't get into it, and I didn't really enjoy it all that much. So it's going to one of my least favorites. I'm sorry, The Changeling from Second Sight. I'm doing some controversial stuff here today. Look, there was a lot of great releases to talk about. I'm not saying this is a horrible release. The artwork's really cool, and I mean, it is Second Sight. You got some decent special features, but I think that this also doesn't have anything new in terms of special features as well. So that's definitely disappointing as well. I think they used all the special features from the Severin release. So that's not really like Second Sight. Usually they'll add in new special features. So I have to be disappointed by that as well. So The Changeling on 4K from Second Sight is one of my most least favorites. So let's get into this last one. This is the one I threw over to the side. I feel like this one, and it has kind of become synonymous with the channel, just people knowing that I don't like this movie. I feel like I bring it up all the time when I'm talking about movies and releases that I don't like, that I hate, that I loathe. This movie is just the perfect example of everything that was wrong with the year of 2023 in physical media. It is an abomination of a release, and that is Bubba Hotep from Scream Factory. I hated this movie, like hated it with a passion. And maybe it was because I was expecting an Evil Dead type movie with Sam Raimi dressed up like Elvis. I don't know. Maybe it was a matter of expectations. I go back and rewatch it. It may hit me differently. I don't know. But the transfer itself, like this movie is so dark and dimly lit, and I just couldn't make anything out, and it just looked like crap. Like the transfer, I was like, this doesn't even need a 4K. Like this entire movie looks like crap. It's so dreary and dark, and I can't even make anything out anyway. So what's a 4K doing to this movie? And I just felt like the Blu-ray probably looked the same as this. I thought it was a very poor 4K. The movie sucked, and I completely regretted buying it. I said I was going to sell it off, but I just can't bring myself to do it because I got a whole shelf of Scream Factory 4Ks, and I'm kind of, not really, but kind of a completionist. And I was like, I don't want to get rid of it because I may go back and rewatch it. Maybe I'll enjoy the movie more. But the transfer sucked. There was nothing new in terms of special features. And this is, like I said, just the example of everything that was wrong with 2023. I know that's an exaggeration, but I hated Bubba Hotep. What do you want me to say? It's most certainly my least favorite release of 2023, and definitely the purchase that I regret the most in 2023. I spent $32 on this release, and I was like, why am I blowing money on these movies that suck ass? Why am I doing this? It made me question the entire way I collect. So that's how I know it's one of the worst releases and most certainly my least favorite release of 2023. So there you have it, guys. Thank you all so much for watching this very negative video. I'm usually not this way. Usually I'm pretty positive, but these were the 10 that, to me, when I think about them, they just give me negative thoughts. So that's why they're on the list. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Turn on those bell notifications for all future videos and reviews. And follow me on all my social media accounts down below in the description. And we'll see you next time.